MGO or Major General, अपना Joint Secretary LS or Kela ji from Ordnance Factory Board Headquarters, and our President Sri Ashok Singh, SN Patak, Sri Kumar, Sadhu Singh and Mukesh Singh. Sir, at your initial opening remarks you have mentioned about the government's views for proposing to corporatize the ordnance factories because the expected level of output is not being produced, or the customers are not their desires and the demands were not fulfilled, because MGO has said that there are a lot of issues hidden behind that. That, of course, that is why we have proposed that the infrastructure, manpower, skill and everything has been created by the government to meet the requirements of the armed forces and to meet the national interest, also to protect the international interest and reduce the import content and to indigenize everything within our resources available or created by the government in the ordnance factories. So naturally we also agree that the resources which are available with us, the technology, then the capacity has to be fully utilized to meet the requirements of the armed forces, and the import content also now they have entered into the global market. Of course, that is also a welcome. But as far as the corporatization issue on which we have given the demand, that protesting, because last 4 years, right from 2016 onwards, we are getting continuous attack on the ordnance factory board from various sources, retired army officers, then the private industries which they wanted to get into the defense production. Then the government took a decision to take away 275 items from ordnance factory board, so that the workload has been diverted towards the private and other enterprises who can produce. Then again, more than 250 licenses have been given to the private firms for defense production. Then overtime reduction. Then competition has been created, not direct nomination basis. That was also withdrawn. Then GST has been introduced. So why I am telling, this continuous actions taken by the government towards the ordnance factories, instead of supporting them or strengthening them, and the attack has created apprehension in the minds of the people that ultimately government is having an opinion that ordnance factories has to be closed down. This is where our being ourselves as a representative of the employees, they are having a very serious apprehension that today it will be corporatized, tomorrow it will go to the market for share market, and then it will be controlled by defense outsiders, private enterprises. Then it will be gradually put down to very small size. This is our total apprehension. Of course, government side, in their wisdom, they might have experienced in the present setup, in the government setup, the expected level of the efficiency cannot be increased. That is why they may be thinking in that sense, that efficiency level, then timely supply, then the quality problem, and then other, cost wise, the whatever they expect according to the private supplier, these are all their issues. We agree to that. But our apprehension, it may be noted that continuous from 2016 onwards, the steps whatever has been proposed by the Ministry of Defence, Department of Defence Protection against the ordnance factories, that only gives us a serious apprehension that being a department, government department, the government, instead of supporting, strengthening the organization and to find out the ways how to strengthen, how to increase, how to improve in the existing infrastructure, capacity, technology, everything, but is demoralizing the organization. This is our major apprehension and our feeling. That is why we are opposing the corporatization. The issue has been raised, and then it was referred to strike notice were served as conciliation proceedings have taken place, and it was directed to you. But now, if the government thinks in that way, then it is for the government to convince us, and the apprehensions whatever we are having, that has to be removed and some protection should be there. If not, what is the other alternative? We may come out or you may come out and we can discuss. But as far as the service conditions are issue, that issue is if the first proposal what we have opposed, the corporatization of the organization or restructuring the organization, if that cannot be reviewed or that cannot be put down, then alternative, what is the way out? Because after all, so long our nation is there, the security of the country is most important for everybody. As a citizen of this country, everybody is having that kind of even we have seen many aggressions have taken place at that time. Indian citizens, they have forgotten everything, religious, regional, language, everything they have forgotten. They have supported the country, supported the army personnel or armed forces, because we have to protect our country. So that kind of concept or thinking of every citizen is having. And likewise, we are also working during the border aggressions. The ordnance factory people have, they have elaborately extended their full support, and they have produced whatever needed by the armed forces within 24 hours, within 48 hours, supplied, and it has made to reach to the border areas. And similarly, today, to satisfy the customers, the armed forces, even ordnance factory employees are going to the border areas and repairing everything and staying with the armed personnel and giving clearance that whatever equipment become faulty, that those things are, because we are going to the border areas and field areas and staying with those people and rectifying the things whatever it is needed to be done. Even today, because the customer interest is foremost. Any producer, he has to take care of the customer. That customer interest is still protected. Still, even I was working in the heavy vehicles factory, Avadi Fair. Now I am talking. The any tank failure in the tank, our people every month at least 50 people, 100 people with officer, with technical persons who are working in that, they go to the border areas, because that interest, that kind of seriousness we have in mind, because the armed forces personnel needs to be satisfied, and they should not say that ordnance factory products are failure or having very less competence and all these things. So that way we are taking. But as far as the first issue is concerned, our apprehensions, I have mentioned that for this reason only, because actually what you have mentioned about the commercial viability, whether the ordnance factories, if it is converted into different structure, whether we can work as a commercial organization. If commercial way of working comes, the national interest and the armed forces requirements, whether that can be can be met out. Then war reserve. Today, fluctuation in load, even then, within no time, the pipeline is being built up, so that any requirement, emergency needs are arises, and the line has to be built up, and we have to within no time the pipeline has been built up, and the production, whatever new production comes or old production has to be started, that we are doing. But war reserve, when viability of commercial organization, if that is taken, then war reserve will not be possible. Another this thing. Then competing with the private people, being a commercial organization, we have to be supply with a low cost and with good quality. If that comes in the mind, profit is the only motto. Commercial way of working is the only intention of the organization. Then national interest, national requirements, whether we can meet that requirement, that is also a apprehension. So these are all the way in which we are feeling, that way of the changes in the structural changes may ultimately lead into a very damaging position, because the PSUs which are working under the government, sometime about 30-40 years back, we were demanding that we should become PSU. But today, PSUs are facing very serious problem, and even profit making PSUs also being sold out, loss making also sold out, and ultimately it is coming to a very bad condition. So that these are the apprehensions. If our issues has been told by our previous speakers, that on these demands 1, 2, 3 what we have projected, kindly go through and give us. Let us have open mind from our side also, from your side also, because the government, if already decided to go for corporatization, then there cannot be any discussion. Only thing, yes, we have to meet the requirements of the armed forces, and we have to strengthen the organization. For that, what kind of mandate you are giving to organization? Yes, you have to do this within this period. If not, if any failure, then alternative will be thought out. Yes, government in their wisdom, because they are the custodian of the total nation. National requirements have to be met by the organization which has been created by public money. If they fail, then ultimately the government can decide on its own because of their wisdom. So this is where our apprehensions we have told, and the failures also I have mentioned, our commitment to the nation and armed forces that have also been mentioned, and the corporatization issue is in the lifeline, then there cannot be any solution. So we can discuss if that keeping pending the other issues, if they come for discussion, we will find out. Otherwise, alternatively, what is the ultimate decision can be taken, that also we can come forward. I think our president also mentioned that, Ashok Singh ji, that national interest, at the same time customer satisfaction, these are all most important for the organization which have been created by the government. But at the same time, our apprehensions, if we go from departmental undertaking to public sector undertaking, then public sector undertaking to privatization. So there is a possibility, because as you said, government will, today's government, tomorrow government, whoever comes, then there will be changes will always be there. Changes for betterment, changes for better thinking, that will be there. But at the same time, the apprehensions also has to be taken into account, and at the same time, how to protect this organization and how to protect the interest of the workmen and save the country. This is what I feel, and this demands wise, as you from government